We all know Call of Duty loves a meta, but for whatever reason right now, they seem to be pretending that double XP is like the elixir of life and they can't give it to anyone. It's really hard to get your hands on, so unless you plan on buying lots and lots of energy drinks to the point of heart failure, or sleeping on stream like some live streamers, finding out what to level up for Black Ops 6's Warzone integration and why is really hard work. But never fear, I have spent the last 72 hours or so pretty much taped to my desk like an extract of a Black Ops storyline with one single purpose. I've found out the best weapons for you to unlock for Warzone's integration to Black Ops 6 so you don't have to. So if you have a regular life and a regular job with kids, things that need doing, and dishes, you can leave the precious information finding out to me so that you can spend your hard-earned XP hours on the correct weapons. So for whatever reason you happen to be time limited, this video is going to give you every gun I feel you should unlock in each category and why I think it's going to be good in Warzone. I've also included a few extras as well as like stretch goals if you happen to find yourself with a few more hours. So if you find this video useful and it's been helping you in your path to the Black Ops 6 Warzone integration and having meta loadouts on day one, please do drop a like on this and consider subscribing as well, as we're on the road to 200k. The difficulty with this testing is that it doesn't come down to the weapon stats in multiplayer, because multiplayer stats and the stats in Warzone tend to be quite radically different. We do have the ability to apply 3 plates in the shooting range, but that isn't always an accurate representation, though it can give you some signs. So as a combination of finding the best weapon loadouts for every individual weapon and what they do well in and what they do bad in, and checking all their recoil patterns, and testing all of them on 2 and 3 plate dummies, this is the list I have collated. I'm going to give you every single weapon per category, and then I'm going to give you a list of weapons in terms of priority from top to bottom. So if you're really time strapped, the later list that gives you just perfect priority is probably the one to pay attention to. In the assault rifle category, we have 2 options. The first is the Model L, and I see this as being a medium range, fairly consistent shooter that's probably going to fulfill something towards a growl role. Now granted, these kind of guns do have more recoil than the Modern Warfare counterparts, but this looks like it's going to be a medium range heavy hitter. It maintains really good damage output over range and looks like it could be a good contender for the early long range meta heading into Warzone for assault rifles. On the flip side of that coin, we have the AK-74, and this is going to be a closer to medium range heavy hitter, and I think this is going to be a great weapon in Warzone. Call of Duty, Treyarch and Raven Software in particular, love their AK-style weapons, and I would be very surprised if this doesn't feature. As a hybrid weapon and more of a wildcard stretch goal for those of you who have the time, I think the AS Val could be really good. The AS Val is the first time we've seen a supersonic weapon come back into the game, and it's also a very unique weapon profile that not only can work as an SMG AR variant, but also a long-range AR variant. This is a very adaptable weapon, and if you've got the time, I would recommend leveling it up too. The SMG category is definitely more of a mixed bag, and the reason for this is because a lot of the weapon profiles in the SMG category are in fact quite similar. You're looking at high rate of fire weapons, high mobility, and not a huge amount of variance between how they all actually perform. So this one was definitely much more challenging to call, but at base level, I think the C9 SMG, which is effectively an MP5, is probably going to be the all-round SMG that reaches a middle ground between recoil control, between fast rate of fire, and just generally being a good compact SMG at close range. On the flip side of that, you have its Soviet brother, the KSV. And the KSV actually surprisingly seemingly has better handling than the C9, but at the same time has a very good fire rate and features in the kind of same category. These seem to be, to me, the 2 sides of the same coin, and one of them is likely going to come out on top in the Warzone meta. If you have the time, the Compact also could potentially be a very good SMG, and you consider this to be a stretch goal. The Compact 92 is a silly weapon, and sometimes the silly weapons just work. This thing fits the same kind of damage profile of something like a MAC-10, with an extremely high rate of fire, extremely high recoil, but likely will boast the fastest time to kill at close range. The LMG category is the most interesting category pretty much for Black Ops 6. I am 100% confident the first general meta for Call of Duty Warzone's Black Ops 6 integration is going to be a light machine gun. The LMGs in this game boast very powerful stats, some of the lowest recoil generally over range, and likely are going to be a dominant source in the scene. I went over all of the damage profiles and generally how all of these weapons handled across 2 and 3 plates in the firing range, and I think the XMG is the safest bet to go for in this category, and I'm not even going to include a stretch weapon in this category for that reason. The thing about the XMG is that in terms of light machine guns, the hardest part is not necessarily what gun I think is going to be the best in terms of time to kill, but what will actually achieve that time to kill. Hypothetical time to kill versus actual time to kill are two very different things. You can hypothetically have a TTK of 500, but if every 3 bullets you're missing 2 bullets, that goes up to a much higher actual value. In the case of the XMG, this thing is just stone cold accurate. I have no doubt in my mind that the XMG is going to be a primary meta weapon going into the Black Ops 6 Warzone integration, and I would highly recommend unlocking it as one of the first weapons you unlock full stop. It's got lots of mag options, it's got really good recoil, it's got great damage output, there is nothing to dislike about the XMG LMG, and I truly think it's going to be the best. Now, there is a bit of a caveat. I haven't included a stretch goal, but the PU-21 looks exciting, and the only reason I say that is just because it has a strip mag, which I think is quite cool. It takes the LMG into more of an AR LMG hybrid, so if you have lots of time, I would recommend the PU-21 as a stretch goal. But if you're just somebody generally looking to unlock what actually will work, don't even bother with it. The sniper category is probably the most clear-cut, because I think the only one that we can really guarantee definitely being a one-shot sniper is most likely going to be the LR762. Now, that's not to say that the LW3A1 Frostline won't be a one-shot kill. There is a good likelihood that it probably will end up being a one-shot kill, or at least a one-shot headshot. But for now, it seems to be that the LR762 is the safer bet. And the reason I say this is just its general handling, feeling, and profile fits that of something that we've seen in Warzone in terms of one-shot snipers, and fits the profile of the speed I would expect for something to be able to one-shot snipe. I do think the Frostline will be capable of it too, but for now I just think this is the safer bet, and also all of the pre-order incentives and all of the new bundles that have existed in the store so far have lent heavily into the LR762, which gives me kind of more of an indication that this is going to be the bread and butter sniper rifle of this category, the one that pretty much is going to be the go-to. The DMR category is a category I am straight up not even recommending in terms of unlocking anything, because this is going to be the biggest mixed bag we are ever going to see in pretty much any Call of Duty Warzone experienced. At the moment, we've got 2 burst rifle DMRs, which have 3-round bursts, and then we have a bunch of single fires that range from really rapid and semi-low recoil to slower and higher recoil, and there is basically no way of guaranteeing that any of these are going to have any conventionally good damage profile in Warzone. I think it's very likely to avoid PR disasters. They're probably going to stray away from having a DMR that is very powerful, because generally people associate DMRs with being quite problematic in how Warzone operates. In the future, I think it is possible that the LR762 could end up fitting a profile of a balanced DMR that could actually slot into the meta in an effective way and be an effective tool in the game. But until that really happens, I wouldn't recommend unlocking any of these DMRs in the game. There is no guarantee any of them are going to be good, there is no guarantee any of them are going to have a conventional damage profile, and if anything, it's just going to be luck of the draw if one of them happens to be broken. If I was to bet which one is going to be broken, I would go for the LR762, but that's only if you have lots and lots of time on your hands. At the very top of my list, I'm recommending the XMG and the C9. I think this is a go-to day one loadout that is going to work really well in the Black Ops 6 integration of Warzone. I think the XMG is going to be the longer to medium range meta, and generally speaking, I think it's going to stand up on top. My second loadout would be something akin to an AK-74 with something along the lines of a C9 or KSV. I think this is going to be slightly more of a wildcard loadout that I'm expecting to have really good damage output with. Generally speaking, it's hard to tell how things are going to shape up, but based on the testing I've done, the recoil and damage patterns that I've found, and how they change with attachments and generally their profiles, I think it's safe to say that the XMG and C9 are going to be the early kings of Warzone. Keep an eye out for some of those wildcards. Again, the list is on screen if you're interested in terms of overarching stretch goals. Some of them do have the capability to potentially surprise us. but it's difficult to say until we know for certain. From a personal standpoint, the gun I am most interested in is the AS Val. Although I said this is a stretch goal weapon, I just think it has such a uniquely interesting damage profile that I'd be pretty much disappointed if it wasn't a cool or good gun at some point. Hopefully you found this video useful, folks, and hopefully it's allowed you to focus your time a little bit more in Black Ops 6. I know it's difficult unlocking some of this stuff when you have a very limited amount of time frame. If you found this video useful or interesting, please do drop a like and subscribe. We're on the road to 200k subs, and a like helps it go a long way. A quick shout out to all of my paying channel members as well who support the channel directly and allow me to continue making content. If you find this stuff useful, watch my streams, or want to see more, doing this is a really easy thing to do that supports me by clicking the join button below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.